All right, now, everybody. Quiet, listen to me. We're going to start a show. Now, some of you people have been with me before. You know it's going to be a tough grind, but we're going to have a show.
I'm sorry to keep the audience waiting, but it's lovely that they still have that great enthusiasm for what will be a great day. I am Mark. We are ready to rock. I was surprised because, of course, I'd forgotten that Tony is here today.
Thanks, Tony.
Sorry about that, Tony. Sent a bunch of stuff to Albert. I think I went back and sent a bunch of it to you again. So if you want to check your magic email, you might find it there.
It hasn't arrived yet.
The truth is that Kim is our stalwart.
Kim, how are you?
She is here as well. And her mother improves every day. Love hearing that news. Rothmann here today, bottom of the hour. The professor joins us. There's a lot to get to. And Belinda Waymouth joins us. It's the Planet Stupid. There are big changes, as you know, at the EPA. I mean, essentially what's happened at the EPA is that a key finding that it really permits and enables all things associated with improving the environment when it comes to CO2 emissions, combustion engines, alternative energy. All of that is made legal because of an EPA finding, and that finding is now being reversed. So she'll maybe touch on that in the, as I say, in the second hour. But there's all sorts of stuff going on. So glad you could be here. I also have a great palate cleanser for you at the beginning of the second hour. We will share the new merch, which has come in an avalanche. You know, the real purchasing of the merch goes on in this house. This is where we buy the, right. Mm-hmm. So Courtney buys it to make sure that it looks a certain way or whatever it is. And so we have it all for you. And there's just a lot of really fun merch. Did you survive thank you, Tony. Yeah, Tony had it up for a second. For those who are just listening, our merch store is beaming. It's brimming. There's probably a third B word. And that is
brilliant.
Yeah, it is. Right. The Make Love, Not Fascism t-shirt is popular. The Born to Peacefully Resist. These are kind of throwback. They feel like late 60s, early 70s type t-shirts with the design, I mean. And of course, Project 1984 and a half, which refers, of course, to this time and the Orwellian period that we're living through. So you can check it out at getmarkmerch.com. I think there are also click-throughs under YouTube, etc. But there's a lot more than that. In fact, there's there are a few things. There's a yoga mat.
That's fun.
We've got to get some pictures going and some, modeling of the stuff. There's, of course, the cardigan that we showed you. The bucket hat is very popular. And the apron is also, there's some of the hats and stuff.
Do we still have the water filtration system? Is that still a thing?
Well, it's not filtration. It's I believe it's a hydration system. Exactly. Mm-hmm. We do have that. And then we also have the wine cooler. You can see it there behind me. You see that wine cooler.
Oh, yeah.
Right there next to all of my awards. The Mark Thompson Show socks are the runaway hit of the summer. So please get them. They're sensibly priced. And they will put a little bounce in your step. So enjoy. Anyway, more on that later.
The Mark Thompson Show.
This from Harry Magnan, $50. Wow, $50. Thanks for what you do, Mark, Kim, Albert, and Tony. Here's to one more trip around the sun. I expect to be doing this again next year.
Happy birthday.
Wow, happy birthday to Harry Magnan. I'm very impressed. Harry Magnan shares the love on his birthday.
I've never seen anything like it.
It's really something special. Harry, thank you. You are really great. We love you, pal.
They are kissing my ass.
Well, we are, because Harry is, I think he is ass kissable today. That is largely the result of his generous super chat. So
happy birthday, Harry.
Yeah. The whole team wishes you a happy birthday, pal. So, I did want to mention and I think, is Harry in Florida?
I don't know.
Why do I think Harry's in Florida? Last Angry Manny for 5. Mark must be back. No on-time start again.
No.
Yes, it's true. I'm dealing with a few things. I almost, to be perfectly honest, didn't make this show today. I don't want to get into a big thing about it, but there's a lot of pretty dark stuff going on, sort of having to deal with it. And so, and it just like when you think it can't get darker, it does. And so man. I am sorry to have started late, but that's kind of in part what was going on. Every day it seems as though more dissenting voices are silenced and courts are getting political. We are losing our democracy bit by bit, says Vilma. I couldn't agree more. And, I think very little of, I'm not an optimist. I think I'm something of a realist. And what's happening, I think very little of the hopium that is associated with wait till the midterms and all this. Please don't misunderstand me. I think we have to concentrate on the midterms. We do have a system here that we have to hope on some level we can breathe life into and regain power and have some sensible, competent people involved in government. That said, the infiltration of all the various levers of power is almost complete. I mean, you have the legal institutions now being permeated by this Trumpian doctrine. And we'll get to Emil Bove, but I completely agree with the general notion that the MAGA movement has engulfed American government and the courts in a way that makes it very, very scary. So I do want to get the Bove thing, but I don't want to get ahead of ourselves. I did want to mention the tsunami. I mean, this tsunami that kind of got everybody's attention.
Yep.
There was a huge quake, right, Kim? It was in Russia.
It was a big boy. They say it's the largest quake that's been recorded in quite some time. Magnitude 8.8.
Yeah, the sixth biggest quake in history, in recorded history, of course. When the Earth was first forming, there were some really big quakes then.
Some shockers.
Yeah, but I mean, we're always still forming, I guess is the point. And we always think of ourselves as like living on a planet where the cake is baked. That's not true. We are on a planet, of course, where the baking continues. So anyway, this is an 8.8, and the effects were profound. There were tsunami waves that were predicted to hit Japan, Hawaii, California, Oregon, Washington, Alaska. Isn't that right, Kim?
It is, and Tony has some video of that. This is Japan. You can see the waves coming in. This is the.
Though those are pretty good size.
Yeah,
actually.
that's in Japan, and they were among the first to feel that. Russia as well. There was some new kind of volcano. There's video that we'll see in a moment. This I think is Hawaii, Hawaii, where you can see the water go out. Here it goes out, and then it's going to come swishing back in. Not as dramatic as they had thought, and they had everyone evacuate and go up to higher elevation. And there was lots of traffic in Hawaii as people tried to rush up the mountain, up the sides of volcanoes.
I saw the traffic in Hawaii was intense, man. It was like everybody was fleeing.
Yeah.
It was really, that's what got me thinking. Now, isn't Albert in Hawaii? Asked CBD.
He is in Hawaii. Yes, he is. Did
we reach out to him at all?
No, we didn't.
Why not?
But the good thing is no one in Hawaii was hurt. So, we know he's all right.
All right. I've forgotten he was in Hawaii, CBD.
Yeah.
We should have reached out to him. I don't know.
They had in Russia 125 aftershocks, well, off the coast, I should say, of Russia. And at least some of them were greater than 6.0, which to me, that's the main event, not an aftershock. Yeah, there's some of the shaking in Russia. You see some of the maps of where the earthquake hit and where the tsunamis were seen. Even here in California, we got a little surge up in Crescent City, which is, they say it has to do with the shape and the positioning of some of these harbors. Crescent City, There's a Santa Cruz Yacht Harbor. Those are two of the ones that when there's a tsunami, the waves always hit it at such a point that it clanks all the boats together and does some damage. I think they said about 4-foot surge was felt in Crescent City today, or overnight, I should say. So, but everybody's all right.
Yeah, the interesting thing about Crescent City, and you're right, about the northern part of the state having a coastline that is more favorable toward, frankly, and favorable is an odd word to use because, you know, it's favorable from the standpoint of exposure to some of these tsunamis. It's like a bad favorability. So there, I think you're right. The even in this tsunami event, the expected damaging surf, if you want to think of it that way, was toward the north. And so, but the word is that nothing really materialized of a major moment.
In Crescent City, they had a 4-foot surge, and the harbor master said one dock suffered major structural failure. The deck
pretty big. That's
separated from the pilings, caused electrical sparking. The dock was designed to protect the inner harbor by dissipating the energy of the strongest tsunami waves. So they say its sacrificial role in overall design appears to have functioned just like it was intended. So that's to be expected, but nobody hurt.
Oprah Winfrey responding after viral social media post claimed she kept her private road closed off despite the tsunami warnings in Hawaii. Other roads gridlock with people fleeing the coast to reach higher ground, as we mentioned. She says as soon as we heard the tsunami warnings, we contacted local law enforcement and FEMA to ensure that the road was open. Any reports otherwise are false. So Oprah trying to clear that up, Kim.
Yeah.
It's not good when the big O, the other big O, has to has to clear things up like that. There's a lot of people who want to smear Oprah, and
who is having that conversation?
Well, it's out there, is all I'm saying.
There's video of sea lions hopping into the ocean, I guess, afraid of the shaking going on. When the shaking begins, they all start leaping into the sea. Yeah, here it is. There they go. They don't want to have anything to do with the land at this point.
And
They're
that's
better.
in Russia. So what you're seeing is this is along the coast of Russia.
Yeah.
That's why they feel that shaking. Yeah. Well, interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, interesting and a reminder, everything is temporary, sadly. But so Kim, I first want to thank you for shouldering on here, for soldiering on and shouldering on, for shouldering the responsibility and soldiering on. And I wonder if you can tell me what the highlights about anything that happened here on the show while I was away that I should know about. Michael Shore, also brilliant yesterday. I loved the conversation with David K. Johnston, and I thought it was a really good show yesterday.
Awesome. Yeah, Michael Shore was awesome. And David K. Johnson is always great. So yeah, we were all right while you were gone. We missed you, and we're glad you're back. But you know what kept on rolling while you were away is Epstein Trump stories. And when Trump was on the way home from Scotland, he was asked about comments that he made in Scotland regarding the pilfering of staff by Epstein from Mar-a-Lago. And Tony has audio with kind of a picture and captions.
Go ahead, Tony. Run these stuff from this is Trump on the plane.
Take a listen.
Just curious.
I mentioned that today.
Epstein has a certain reputation, obviously. Just curious, were some of the workers that were taken from you, were some of them young women?
Were some of them
young women?
Well, I don't want to say, but everyone knows the people that were taken. And it was the concept of taking people that work for me is bad. But that story's been pretty well out there. And the answer is yes, they were.
Yes, they were young women?
What did they do? In the spa.
In the spa?
Yeah, people that work in the spa. I have a great spa, one of the best spas in the world at Mar-a-Lago. And people were taken out of the spa, hired by him. In other words, gone. And other people would come and complain, this guy is taking people from the spa. I didn't know that. And then when I heard about it, I told them, I said, listen, we don't want you taking our people, whether it was spa or not spa. I don't want them taking people. And he was fine. And then not too long after that, he did it again. And I said, out of here.
Mr. President, did one of those stolen, persons that include Virginia Jeffrey?
I don't know. I think she worked at the spa. I think so. I think that was one of the people. Yeah. He stole her. And by the way, she had no complaints about us, as you know.
So stolen and groomed and taken by her own account to work with the Epstein folks in the sex trade.
It's hard for me to tell whether or not Trump had a firsthand knowledge of this because of an association or a connection to this woman, the underage girl who's working in the spa, or if he, sort of his real disposition conforms with what he says, which is that I heard about the fact that he had poached this woman, poached our staff. I tend to think if he had taken a landscaper, if he had taken a bartender, if he had taken any number of the people who are associated with the support staff at Mar-a-Lago, the reaction might be different than a real sharp rift between the two men, if that really was what it was about, over this woman and maybe one other woman. These guys are about women. They're about girls.
They're about young girls, not women.
They're about having sex.
Yeah.
They're about running around the world. They're about Playboy, international, swinging times. I mean, it sounds weird. I don't mean to sound prudish, but come on, man. I mean, that's really what's going on here. I don't know how you want to, these are two guys who just want to get laid. Okay. I can put it that way. All right. They're two rich guys who have set up a world that is all about sex. And so when we talk about women who worked in the spa and these massages, what we're really talking about is a ramp up to the kind of forced sex that was involved with Epstein and involved with a network that involved human trafficking worldwide. And Epstein's, in my judgment, compromat, the stuff he had on so many of these powerful people was one thing, but the fact that he was enabling this world for all of those powerful people, that was another thing. He was a valued asset to people because he could spirit you off to his island, to have you spend the weekend at his place in New York, or just come by for a massage. But it was all the dirtiest, lowest, illegal, immoral crap. So when we get to Mar-a-Lago, when he's poaching somebody from the spa, if Trump is that angry about it, that he doesn't want anything more to do with Epstein, I think it suggests some kind of personal relationship that he might have had with this girl. He's at least aware of her. When he says, I was told that he took this girl from the spa, I kind of feel as though that doesn't pass the smell test, because what you'd normally say is, Jeffrey, I'll talk to him. I'll make sure it doesn't happen again. If you just didn't really know who she was or what the deal was. I mean, I think there's way more of an involvement here with Donald Trump and these women than he's letting on. And that doesn't mean, I want to be clear, and I'm no Trump fan, but it doesn't mean that he was involved in this operation or even in sexual improprieties with underage people. It doesn't necessarily mean that. But in other words, they could be good friends and, as I say, international playboys, or however they see themselves, party boys, without being on the Trump side associated with what Epstein really was into, which was underage women. Mm-hmm. But I have to say that when you look at the videos of these model searches and these kind of beauty contest model searches where it's just Epstein and Trump assessing the potential of these various models, and they come from top modeling agencies, some of them, you start to realize, but a lot of these women who are 14, 15, 16, they are
Not
They're
women.
looking like women in
But
a
they're girls.
in a catalog, but they're
I have
girls.
one in my
They're young
house,
girls.
16-year-old girl. She is not mentally ready for anything big.
Right.
You know, she's still growing. She's still a kid. There's a
Here,
big difference.
Inlay says it better than I did. Inlay says, why would a millionaire, which is again, the owner of Mar-a-Lago, care about a minimum wage employee unless he had an interest in them? Low-wage employees go to new jobs every day. I think that's exactly right, Inlays. And
what struck me is that he seemed more concerned about the poaching of employees than he did about what happened to her.
Oh, there's no question about that. He doesn't, he just, again, treats it all. Look, you're dealing with a guy who doesn't want to say too much about it and talk about how horrible it is because he knows he's involved in it. So he doesn't really want to spend a long time talking about Epstein's despicable life and the horror that he wrought on so many others because Trump was part of it. His name's all over the files. I mean, you've heard the story, and I'll just repeat it. 1,000 FBI agents called off of what they were doing to handle the Epstein case right now, looking for Trump's name. Now, I don't know. That seems extraordinary to me if they pulled 1,000 FBI agents off what they were doing, but maybe it's true. I mean, I've read it in multiple reports. But anyway, they're looking for anything related to Trump. They're culling this material, I believe, so that Trump's name will be deleted, removed, and otherwise excised to make sure that when the time comes and they're forced to release something, not the grand jury testimony. That's the most ridiculous. As you know, the grand jury testimony is supposed to remain sealed, but even if it became unsealed, it pertained to such a small amount of what the Epstein case is about. There were only 2 witnesses. Did you see the story? It just broke this morning. Only 2 witnesses were involved in the grand jury testimony. Only 2. I mean, this is a decades-long operation that involves all kinds of victims and all sorts of testimony, and the investigation is expansive. If you're saying, oh, well, you know what, we are thinking about releasing the 2 bits of testimony in the grand jury deliberation. What? That's nothing. And by the way, it's being played like nothing. MAGA Nation isn't taking that either, from what I understand. They want to see more. So what they're doing is, in my judgment, they're prepping the file for release to not just redact, but I'm suggesting alter the file in some way such that it just Trump's footprints aren't all over it as they are already. I mean, we know his name is all over it. Why is he so worried about it? It's crazy that Trump was on such a jihad prior to winning the election. Transparency, we're going to release this. The Epstein files, to be fair, he was always like, oh, well, I don't want to, of course I'll release them. I don't want to damage any reputations and hurt any people. I mean, odd that you would double clutch on that. Luis says Trump is an upstanding Lord and Savior. He would never do anything inappropriate with a minor. Oh, this is her. Love absolutely no one, meaning no one's saying that. Exactly. I mean, we all know that Trump is,
skeezy.
Yeah, he is what he is. But I mean, it's all of a kind, right, with Epstein. So the only thing I would say about Epstein, because I know it does continue to percolate, is that as Trump runs from it, he can, I think, move various other things into the headlines to bump it out for a time, but it will lurk there and come back, and it will be potentially damaging to him. Rumor is he's really freaked out about the Epstein financial records. Why? Yeah, I guess they say in the investigation, if you follow the Epstein money, it does get very interesting and mysterious. In other words, There's suggestions that there's money laundering there. There's suggestions that there is a lot of money that traces back to what we think of Eastern Bloc countries and Russia. So these are all women of huge money transfers that might have been part of another network of human trafficking that was sort of essentially a subsidiary or an associated partner of Jeffrey Epstein. Trump also doesn't want anyone to look into all the money that went back and forth between him and the crooked bank, says Dirk is Jerk. Yeah, I don't know about that. I mean, it's Trump's relationship with banks has been chronicled. I thought it was really well chronicled I'm trying to think of the name of the book. It was a Deutsche Bank discussion about how Deutsche Bank essentially funded the Trump lifestyle, even as Trump was defaulting on loans prior to that. It was because the Trump people had essentially charmed a part of the banking arm of Deutsche Bank that was involved in a lot of loans to Donald Trump. So the actual banking, those involved in Deutsche Bank and controlling the banking business, when they found out that the private part of Deutsche Bank, sort of, you want to think of the high net worth servicing part of Deutsche Bank, had dark towers. Thank you. God, that's exactly it. Was that Tony? God,
yep, that was Tony. Tony to the rescue.
Tony, you are magic, my friend. Magic.
Thanks, Tony.
Yeah. The anyway, Dark Towers talks all about that. So when it gets to banking, I don't know what the latest is, but there's definitely a lot in the banking world. There was already a problem for Donald Trump. The problem we hear is that it involves sex with
Is
minors.
that a movie or a book?
It's a book.
Okay.
Yeah. And the sex with minors part just makes this, it vaults it to another level. Okay. I mean, this isn't just a worldwide prostitution ring. It is that, but it involves underage boys and girls. So that takes it to another place. So that is a little on that. It's kind of late because we started late. I did want to mention that Jerome Powell, I think, announced that they are keeping interest rates where they are, which I'm sure you'll have in your news. But the future of Powell, as you know, a tense one, but and the conversation around him, a tense one, but he seems to be pretty firmly in place and handling the Fed in a firm way. Smash the like button if you would. That's a little bit of an overview of
with your iron rod.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a view of the Epstein thing, an overview, and I think those are some of the particulars. I do think it worth remarking on because of its political relevance. You know, this is more than just a salacious story. This is a salacious story that has engulfed a presidency and has threatened support from MAGA Nation and from his broad, I'd say much broader than given credit for, area of support politically in America. And so for that reason, I think it's worth talking about. But there is other stuff going on. They're redistricting in Texas, as I mentioned to you before. There is a major announcement from the Brits on Palestinian state. We'll get to all of that right now with the great John Rothmann in a moment. So,
The Mark Thompson Show.
I know it. I know. Is there anything I need to get to before John, or can I get right to John? I'm guessing I can get right to John. No one has said anything. So without any further delay, this man is a great political historian, presidential historian, author, lecturer, our former colleague from KGO Radio. He's the great John Rothmann, professor.
Thank you, Mark. I love those modest introductions.
I bow to you, sir. You're a very, very learned fellow, and I ask you to first weigh in on something that I know you know a little something about, and that's the Middle East. You've seen the announcement by the British that they want to recognize a Palestinian state if there are certain, well, you can tell me what they are. There's certain provisos here that they are, I think, designed, those provisos, to put pressure on the Israelis to change policy in Gaza.
Well, you have to back up for a minute and ask, what Palestinian state? There is no formal Palestinian state. There are no boundaries or borders to a Palestinian state. But do you recognize Hamas? or do you recognize the Palestinian Authority, which is one of the most corrupt operations around, which hasn't had an election since 2005? There are a number of interesting developments, but I will tell you the most significant development is that the Arab League, all 22 nations, have voted that Hamas should be disarmed, that Hamas should be put in the position of releasing all hostages, and in return, the Arab League is endorsing a two-state solution, meaning recognition of Israel's right to exist. It doesn't alleviate the tragedy of Gaza. It doesn't alleviate any of that. But you will note the New York Times on the front page today had to print a retraction. They'd had a picture of a kid who they said was a victim of starvation, who in fact has other physical problems. And they had to admit in the report on the front page of the New York Times that they got it wrong. That doesn't obviate the question of whether or not there are real issues in terms of starvation and malnutrition and all the rest. So these are all issues that are now being addressed. I think it's too little too late. People ask me, who do you blame? I don't blame anybody. I think the world could have and should have reacted much more quickly to reassure the Israelis about their security, to get the hostages out, and to condemn Hamas. Finally, that seems to be happening, but it doesn't excuse the fact that we still have the same conundrum. And the conundrum is, can you have a solution that guarantees Palestinian rights, but not at the expense of Israel's right to exist? And that, to me, is the bottom line.
I think you focus on something that did strike me, too, which is you can recognize here the Palestinians' right to a state or to safety in their own homeland. I just don't know what that looks like. And as you say, that real estate isn't there right now, at least identified in any sort of discernible way that's been recognized by the rest of the world. It's a very, very tough, unforgiving situation in Gaza. It's not supported by a lot of the Israeli population. It's interesting to me, and just in reading about how Netanyahu has pursued this policy, and he is demanding the return of the remaining hostages and the elimination of Hamas, and he goes through Gaza in this unrelenting fashion. That is not supported by a lot of Israelis on the street, is it, John?
Oh, of course not. And, people ask me about, if you criticize Israel, what does that mean? It means you're doing what they do in Israel. If you read the Israeli press, as I do, there is absolute condemnation of the Netanyahu government on a whole broad range of issues. But I would point out to you, the first time we have had a real condemnation of Hamas by the Arab world itself is now. What took them so long? What took so long for the Arab League to say, release the hostages? So my hope is that out of all of this will come a more positive moment. For the people of Gaza, it is a tragic situation. I don't know any way to ameliorate it, to be very honest with you, because between the struggle between Hamas for its decisions and the Israelis seeking their own security, one can feel great sympathy for the Palestinian people. But these are wounds that have been inflicted by too many mistakes on all sides.
Well, the deep wounds of history can't be denied in that region, for sure. I want to come back to this country. I want to come back to the midterms. Everybody talks about the midterms. The midterms are going to be great. Just wait for the midterms. We're going to take them. This will be bad for the midterms. Texas Republicans unveiling a new congressional map for the midterms that would provide their party in Texas with 5 new red-leaning districts, a plan that, if enacted, could provide a boost to the party as it tries to cling to control of the House. The redraw would significantly benefit Republicans by making districts held by Democrats like Henry Cuellar and Vicente Gonzalez, who both represent heavily Latino areas of the Rio Grande Valley. It would make those areas redder and make some Democratic-controlled districts even bluer in an attempt to create GOP-leaning districts elsewhere. The proposed map would also put a number of Republican and Democrat incumbents in the same district. It only sets up one primary matchup between Democratic Representatives Greg Casar and Lloyd Doggett, avoids any messy GOP primary fights between incumbents. So 6 districts wouldn't have an incumbent under this new map, according to this data released by the Texas legislature. So would that leave both parties with a rushed recruitment process as they try to get something hustled together for the midterms? But that would be a huge opportunity for the Republicans to retain control of the House, John.
Yeah, let's back up and point out redistricting takes place every 10 years. This is not on the 10-year cycle. What the Republicans will be doing in Texas is unprecedented. I do want to respond by saying that Gavin Newsom is saying, if you can do it there, we can do it in California. And if, in fact, the congressional elections are reduced to this kind of redrawing of maps, we're in big trouble in terms of democracy. There would also be challenges to whether or not it is constitutional for the Texas Republicans to ram something like this through. And that leads us back to the Supreme Court. I would point out to a lead story today in the MAGA world is that the Republicans are being prepared to replace members of the Supreme Court as they pass away. The idea being to solidify the conservative, or if it's not even conservative, the Trump base on the court. It is a profoundly disturbing moment in history. As for the redistricting, you're right. Once upon a time, there could be real swings in Congress, in the House, because we've seen it in 46. We saw it in 78. We've seen it repeatedly. But the simple truth is that those kinds of competitive days seem, and I want to underline the word seem, to be over. So this redistricting story should be on the front page of every newspaper, and we'll see how it all works out.
Are you optimistic about the midterms? You oftentimes speak
yes, I'm always optimistic, as you know. It's our point of difference. But I would I would suggest
I'd call you delusionally optimistic.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I'm delighted to be delusional and optimistic at the same time. No, I believe there will be a reaction. You're already seeing what the Republicans have done with their so-called Great Big Beautiful Bill, which is what it's now called. It's neither beautiful or, well, anyway. But the real cuts don't take place until after the midterms. That's what you call real courage by the Republicans. And of course, when you take a look at what's happening now with Medicaid and the number of people who will be removed from the Medicaid rolls, it's absolutely horrific and will have a huge impact on health services. So,
but again, that won't kick in. That won't kick in until after the midterms. Yeah.
You're going to talk about the EPA in the next hour, but those of you who've listened to Lee Zeldin and what he has said, he's the director of the EPA. They're going to gut the most basic elements of protecting our environment. And I talked to an expert just the other day because I was very curious about this. Will it leave a lasting effect? He said, of course, you can always, with the Democratic administration, reverse things. But yes, there is an impact. There is an effect right now.
Well, you cannot reverse the kind of damage that they're talking about.
No, you can't.
Unleashing. Well, I mean, because we're talking about greenhouse gases, carbon monoxide discharges, goes into your lungs, all of these industrial pollutants into your lungs, produce cancers. You can't reverse that. That in other words, once you've gotten cancer, once you breathe in these carcinogens, they get deep down into your lungs. You're living with it. And some Democratic administration isn't going to clean your lungs out. And here's what John was talking about.
What they will do is reverse what the Trump administration is doing. What they're doing is being done by executive order. An executive order is not legislative action. It's an executive order, can be reversed. And I believe that it'll take another few years. And let me point out to you that J.D. Vance seems to be now the leading candidate to replace Donald Trump. And that if something happens to Donald Trump, J.D. Vance would become president. And immediately that changes the whole equation. Let me point out another difference. We're watching the disaster in Ukraine unfold. And it is a disaster. It should be on the front page of every newspaper, but it isn't because there's too much else to deal with, including the Epstein case. But the simple truth is that J.D. Vance opposes aid to Ukraine, and if he becomes president, the whole American policy may shift. So these are all things. I heard an interesting speculation. Who would J.D. Vance take as his vice president if he were to succeed to the presidency under the 25th Amendment to nominate? And the answer is Donald Trump Jr. That's the one who promoted him, pushed him, and would make a great idea of continuity. So we're talking here about major issues that we will confront without any doubt.
You know, we pay more for medicine in America than any other country in the world.
Yep.
And one of the things that is often railed against, you'll remember when Donald Trump and MAGA Nation, you guys all thought yourselves the outsiders. You were screaming about we're going to, it was a real populist movement. Donald Trump oddly positioned himself as an outsider, even though we'd already had 1 4-year period with him. And Big Pharma is actually the beneficiary of so much when it comes to American protectionism around drug prices. Even Big Pharma is pushing back against the tariffs that have been imposed on a lot of medications from Europe. A 15% tariff is being levied on medicines from Europe, medications that are desperately needed by Americans, that are regularly used by Americans, desperately needed or not. And so you end up with prices that are already, as I've mentioned, higher than any place else on earth.
It's
getting
appalling.
even higher.
Yeah,
these are the new Trump tariffs.
Right. And let me explain to you, and I know that I've said it before, and I don't want to be redundant, but I do want you to understand, a president can't set tariffs, theoretically.
Congress is illegal.
Is
That's
the
right.
only one who can do it. And what has happened is that the Republicans in Congress have dealt a terrible blow to the balance of powers by abdicating their responsibility on this tariff question. One thing is clear. People ask me, what will the major issues be in the midterms? The abdication of Congress of its responsibility on so many levels. But this is an ongoing disaster for the balance of powers. You know, our colleague Ron Owens used to argue that he would rather see a divided government. And I always told him he was wrong. It was better to have a single party in power. That's how you got the New Deal. That's how you got Ronald Reagan's reforms. But I have to tell you, I owe Ron an apology, because clearly divided government would have been much better. Look at the approval of a judge, a man who is completely, we're going to get to that, I know. Why don't you open it up with that? But by a vote of 50 to 49, with the Democrats absolutely opposing any action on this level. I'm sorry, I'm wrong. It was 50 to 48. But this is a lifetime appointment. Bove is a man whose record is so reprehensible that his own colleagues opposed his nomination. And yet the Republicans are caving to this kind of thing. You have some sound on that, I know.
This is Emil Bove, just to fill in the gaps. This is Emil Bove, who was Trump's personal attorney, yet again another personal attorney of Trump's, defense attorney, rising to now the position of a seat on the Third Circuit Court of Appeals. That's
a lifetime seat.
Yeah, it's a remarkable thing. And here's a little sound on, I believe, Democratic reaction. This is Chuck Schumer.
Right now. Okay? Yes.
Emil Bove was confirmed last night, even after a number of whistleblowers.
This is a press conference around the Bove confirmation.
I think I said it was one of the low points, not only in this Congress, but in the history of Congress, to put a man like this in such an important position as a circuit court judge. It's a disgrace. He doesn't belong there. And our Republican, he only had one qualification. He'd do whatever Trump wants. That's a horrible qualification for a judge. Yes.
I mean, he's right. I mean, that's exactly what Bove is about. I mean, whistleblower reports were coming out of the woodwork. There were 3 of them saying that he recommended that the administration ignore court orders that would disrupt Trump's aggressive immigration agenda. And this was the reaction that was associated with, that is, Bove's reaction was associated with the pushback, the very strong legal pushback early on in the immigration, aggressive immigration policy of the new administration. So in other words, when they were deporting people, putting them on planes, sending them away, Bove's view was, and he literally said this according to the whistleblower report, when the court tells you, tell them, just F the court, is what he said. F the order. This is according to these whistleblower reports. So, I mean, the he's right when Schumer says loyalty to Trump is the bottom line. That really is all that you need display to get these appointments.
Absolutely. And this is another disaster. Who is president matters. And I kept saying that. I've said it in every talk I've given on presidential elections for years and years and years. And it's true. The fact that Bove is now a confirmed to a federal judgeship, given his record, is mind-boggling.
They have a video, apparently, John, we have video of the Democrats walking out of this confirmation and this confirmation vote. Go ahead, Tony. Here it is.
Sir, with all appeals to your decency, with all appeals to your integrity,
that's Cory Booker.
With all appeals to past jurisdiction and past precedent, why are you doing this? This is outrageous.
This is a kangaroo court. That's all we have here,
This
Mr.
is
Chairman.
wrong. To violate your own rules without going by the mandates of the parliamentarian. This is unbelievable. There's a way to do this. If you want to force this through, if you want to ram this through, there's a way to do it in accordance to the rules as spelled out by the parliamentarian. It is simple. It is clear. There's a pathway to achieve what you're trying to achieve. But, sir, this lacks decency. It lacks decorum. It shows that you do not want to simply hear from your colleagues.
So
that's the tragedy.
What he's talking about is the fact that they rushed this vote through. They didn't give the whistleblowers time to testify, to offer any sort of official pushback. It was really rammed through in a big hurry. That's basically what he's saying there when he says, why are you doing it this way?
That's correct. And when you take a look at the vote in the United States Senate, I mean, we have another comment, I know, a recording of Cory Booker speaking, but do you understand that there were judges who are Democrats and Republicans who said, this guy doesn't belong on the bench? And unfortunately, the Republicans are having their way. That will be the comeuppance, I believe, Mark, in the midterm elections, if the Democrats make the right case.
I see these things coming together. I won't get into a big back and forth with you on this now. I know that these appointments are a mess. They are, in all the ways we've talked about, corrupted by blind loyalty without real competence. You have people at the highest levels of government who have no real competence. You mentioned Lee Zeldin. He is a hard right former legislator who is just there to dismantle the EPA. Everyone who is in a position of power in Washington is either there to dismantle the agency or because of loyalty to Trump. See Gabbard, see Hegseth, and their competence is not in the building because they don't have any when it comes to dealing with that which they're supposed to administer. So I put all of this in a category of something that Americans don't really follow so closely, John. I hate to say it. I was just talking to a very smart guy the other night over dinner, and he said this, and I thought it was insightful. Excuse me. Had to cough for a second. He said, you know what I like about Trump? He said, I like that he said he was going to do things, and then he did them. He actually gets things done. And I thought, and then I started to argue with him over the stuff that he was actually doing. I mean, he's thrown the law out and he's just running roughshod over the American systems. But his view was, well, if that's what you have to do to get stuff done, then I guess he saw that he could do it.
And that's what a dictator does.
Right. And
that's what
it made me think.
does.
It made me realize that people are attracted to these strong leaders. Sometimes these strong men, they achieve a level of obedience. They achieve a level of momentum around their cult of personality. And I think that's what Trump has had. And it leaves them in a position of support from people, some of whom are very well educated, but just don't follow things day to day.
It's astounding. I just want to say one thing about the White House. I have a White House guide here signed by 3 American presidents and 7 first ladies. I love the White House guide that originally was composed by Jackie Kennedy. 2 things have happened. Number one, the Kennedy Rose Garden, the Jacqueline Kennedy Rose Garden, has been cemented over. He's going to build some sort of patio like he has at Mar-a-Lago. And the second thing is they're talking about, and this is unbelievable, talking about renaming the Kennedy Center the Trump Center. And indeed, one of the major theaters in the complex to be named after Melania Trump. I mean, one is absolutely dumbfounded. The Kennedy family issued a statement. Maria Shriver actually wrote the statement expressing their absolute horror at this. I'm going to go even further. It is a revision of history. And when the history of this administration is written, not only will it be based on corruption, but it will be based on this incredible response. So I'm glad we've raised all of these issues, and there's so many more which could be talked about, but that's also part of the game plan. Hit so much of this stuff, and then you can't really focus. It's too much to absorb. But
yeah, no, you're right. I mean, it's its own tsunami of crazy and incompetence and corruption and a policy that is absolutely serving only one part of America, and that's the wealthy class. I will mention that the Kennedy Center, and I smiled, even though it's crazy. The Kennedy Center renaming is something that Trump, I'm sure, would love. I mean, he loves to see his name on everything, but and that's just not me being anti-Trump. I mean, it's true. I mean, he's just it's the thing with him. But the Kennedy Center renaming comes from the desire to kiss his butt. That's what's happening, to suck up to the president, isn't it, John? I mean,
well, these are Republicans.
That wasn't a Trump suggestion. Yeah,
these are Republicans that are proposing it. But
exactly,
all I can tell you is when the history of this administration is written, and I believe this with all my heart, we will have never had a more corrupt presidency in American history. I think it is unprecedented. And the president of the United States doing these kinds of things makes it just incredible. What bothers me is that his base doesn't see it. By the way, you know what they're doing now? They're having a hearing, the House Republicans, on Joe Biden's mental competency during his term as president. And I understand you have questions about it. Just read Jake Tapper's book, which is a full expose of the fact that Joe Biden wasn't necessarily up to it. But I can tell you, this is such a deflection, such a distraction. We have had presidents who may not have been at their full best. Woodrow Wilson, after his stroke in 1919, most assuredly Franklin Roosevelt in 1944 and 45. We have seen presidents who simply lost it. But to then make this a major political issue and distraction in the midst of all the crises taking place, I just find it incomprehensible and very disturbing. And I won't say it shatters my faith in the American political system, but I will say it goes a long way to making me wonder about what the founders would think if they were alive today.
You're going to be last to the party, but everybody's joining my party, which is the questioning the American political systems, not because of the systems. The systems actually brilliantly placed and brilliantly reformed along the way and in need of more reform, but because of the people. Systems are people. I've said it before, and the people involved in our system now, the people who occupy the heads of many of these systems within the overall system, I'm talking about agencies of government, they are corrupt. And you said it.
Talk about
out.
Pam Bondi. Talk about Pam Bondi. Talk about Don Bongino. Talk about Kash Patel. Talk about, and I hate to say it, Lee Zeldin, who once was a more moderate Republican. This is astounding. And I'm glad we're able to touch on it. And when we replay the tape of this broadcast 10 years from now, people will, I believe, see the evidence and the truth of what you and I are saying. I do believe that in the end, we will wake up and the system will correct itself. But the damage being done in the meantime is appalling.
Well, that's just very well put. And sadly, it's a summary of where we are. These judgeships, I think, represent maybe the last bulwark against the sort of complete control that Trump has taken, dictatorial control. I'd suggest that the dictatorial control is almost complete. And it was given to him by, as you suggested, a Congress that had control, for example, over the tariffs. They could have easily said, look, we love you, but the tariffs have to come through us. That's an important part of what we do. They didn't. They've given him total control. So I feel as though you've found in this moment in America a party that has surrendered completely to this guy.
Exactly.
And so the only outstanding, shall we say, again, bulwark or barrier to his complete takeover is the courts. And now you've seen the courts succumb. You've seen the courts succumb in ways that we saw with Emil Bove and his nomination.
That goes right along with the Congress. If Joe Biden had made this nomination, the Republicans would have been absolutely up in arms.
Well, his confirmation had to go through Congress, so you're exactly right about that. But the fact that they kept out the whistleblowers, they kept out and rushed through this entire process, that's what angered the Democrats. That just speaks to the way in which they are completely at the beck and call of this guy, Donald Trump. And the last thing I'll say, if I can, I always feel like that's something that you say, the last thing I'll say, but the last thing I'll say is the way that they wanted to bury the Epstein conversation, that he would adjourn Congress. Mike Johnson, MAGA Mike, would adjourn Congress to avoid a vote on the release of the Epstein files. That tells you how completely in the control of Donald Trump Congress is. They adjourned the goddamn Congress because they're worried about the damage reputationally to the President of the United States. So they don't even want to vote on the release of the file.
Just imagine what we'll be talking about in September when Congress reconvenes.
Right. It'll be the first thing up, won't it? Yeah.
Yes. I hope so.
John, we covered a lot, as we always do with you. So grateful for your time. You can hear John daily. He does his show every day. When do you do it? You do it first thing in the morning?
First thing in the morning. And let me point out, I am leaving you for 3 weeks. I
know. I'm not happy about it.
I leave on Friday, and I will not be doing my podcast, nor will I be interacting in any way. And I want to apologize publicly to everyone. You can blame my wife. She insists we go on this vacation. And being the dutiful husband that I am going to go along.
Well,
you can imagine I've issued a decree. I want you to know this is an absolute ironclad decree that no news is to transpire during the 3 weeks that I'm away.
That is quite the that is quite the decree. Well, we'll look forward to your return. So you're Around the Political World with John Rothmann will not be on the air during the time that you're away.
That is correct. Nor will I have some pre-recorded stuff for the Voice of San Francisco, which is easy to do. It's interviews and so forth. And many of you who live in San Francisco know we have a major recall campaign going on in the Sunset District, the Supervisor Joe Longardio. That vote is September 16th. So we've done a number of pre-recorded segments on that. But no, I regret to say that there will be a deafening silence, and my poor wife is now going to have to listen to my comments exclusively.
So you are going to be back what date, sir?
We get back, I think, on August 22nd.
All right. So we'll see you at the end of August. He is the great John Rothmann. Wish him well. Bon voyage and lots of love, my friend.
The Mark Thompson Show.
That's our visit with the professor, John Rothmann. Covered a lot of stuff. Kim, I wanted, and I'm going to, if you can get some news in, I still wanted to get a little palate cleanser for you. A way that you can take in a little content that isn't all dark and hopeless. I want to be hopeful, Kim. I want to be hopeful.
So nice.
I want to be the person who offers love and light. It's harder and harder, Kim. I'll be honest with you. I'm challenged, but I will offer a little extra something in the next few minutes. But first, I'd like to get some news from you, can I?
You may.
And then we will rejoin. I'll have a palate cleanser. I still have Belinda Waymouth. And I'll handle any comments, too. I feel like, I don't know. It may just be my feeling today, but I just don't want to leave anything. We'll do this right now. B.A. Ware says, notice how Trump is all about putting judges and prosecutors in the New Jersey area federal criminal justice system. That's where you should be looking for his skeletons, where he shows insecurity. That is a brilliant comment, and it's so right on. Trump is very concerned about just that. Yeah. Prosecutors in the New Jersey area. Very interesting.
Doesn't it make you want to dig into what's going on in there? Like, what's happening with that? Yeah.
It really is clever. Thank you, B.A. I think that's a really great point. All right. Smash the like button like a boss if you would. It helps us in the
iron rod.
YouTube universe when you get the thumbs up. It helps buoy the show and get the show to people who otherwise don't know the show is there. So, tomorrow, David Katz joins us, and we'll talk about this Bove situation. It's an abomination, of course, and it is the beginning, is what I was saying before, but just to put a fine point on it, it's the coring out of the last restriction on a dictatorial regime. It is absolutely the most relevant thing going on right now in America. The total revamping of the American judicial system to conform with the agenda of Donald Trump, which is, we've seen it play out with immigration, we've seen it play out with the control of blue states and blue cities, but it's also related to whatever he wants. We don't know what it is. It may be a tariff, it may be an immigration policy, it may be jailing Hillary Clinton. It may be any number of things that now will have more of a chance of standing up legally because the entire American legal system is being infiltrated and totally revamped by MAGA acolytes, by Trump loyalists. This is the most important thing to keep in mind right now. While these ridiculous, aggressive, immoral immigration policies are put into place, while they take some 50-year-old gardener whose kids who have served as veterans and they throw him in a van and attempt to deport him, while they take some high school kid who's a graduate, an honors student, an athlete, and they throw him in a van because his parents came here illegally and he arrived at an early age and as a result isn't technically an American with legal status. He gets thrown in a van and sent off. These are just a couple of the cases that speak to a policy that is completely without reason, and it has a cruelty to it and a wanton, violent quality to it that is only getting worse. But one has to remember that that policy is made legal by the infiltration of the courts. And that's why I see the infiltration of the courts right now as the most important issue. So the Bove confirmation is, again, another step. And so I'm anxious to talk to David Katz about this tomorrow. David Katz is kind of like Rothmann. He has faith in the system. He's an optimist. I tend to be, sort of brutal in my assessment of these things. But I think
negative Nelly, Debbie Downer.
These are brutal times. And do you want a brutal truth teller or do you want somebody blowing smoke up your butt? I mean, I'm not Mr. Sunshine on these things where there is no sunshine. There, you have to act. You can't have such a normalcy bias. Well, we'll get them in the midterms. I agree. That's where we should concentrate. But let's be aware of how we're bleeding out at the court level. And what Booker said today and the way the Democrats walked out, it's important because that is what's happening. The rules are being ignored. The rules are being ignored on tariffs. The rules are being ignored in any number of these executive orders now those executive orders will be deemed illegal because, again, of the infiltration of the courts. All right. Kim's News, and we continue. Mark Thompson Show.
The Mark Thompson Show.
On the Mark Thompson Show, I'm Kim McAllister. This report is sponsored by CoachellaValleyCoffee.com. As Mark mentioned, the Federal Reserve is not cutting interest rates despite President Trump's demands. Today, the Fed announced rates will remain locked in at 4.25% to 4.5%. The fifth straight time the central bank has kept rates steady. Trump is insisting now is the time to cut rates, saying he has kept inflation at bay. Tsunami waves hit U.S. shores after one of the strongest earthquakes ever recorded. The magnitude 8.8 quake off Russia's far eastern coast resulted in tsunami waves reaching Northern California and Hawaii with minimal damage. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem said the threat of a major tsunami has now passed. Officials say the currents can remain dangerous for days after a tsunami. So, especially for those of us along the coastal areas, we've got to be careful.
Kim, of course, on full alert, the only one of us who's actually rescued someone from the ocean. I mean, Tony, have you rescued anyone from an ocean? Ever? I ask you, sir.
I threw a friend in one time. That's about it.
Albert certainly is not. And I have not. Kim, fearlessly seeing her son Jacob engulfed by the surf. First, hesitant to go in because she didn't want to get her outfit wet.
Wrong.
Then she went in and she single-handedly, without any other help, rescued Jacob from the unforgiving waters of the Pacific, dragged him to safety, then spun him above her head. It was unbelievable. There is a viral video of it somewhere.
No.
Yeah. Pretty incredible, Kim. So we're counting on you.
I'm liking how the story changes over time. This is fantastic.
She is a superhero, says JT. She's the only one of us who has rescued someone from the surf. And I thought of it last night when the tsunami, and I'm not being funny about this or glib about this or flip about this or dismissive about this. Last night when the tsunami warnings went out, I thought Kim is the only one who is capable of rescuing anyone. And she's not with me. And if I'm engulfed by these Pacific waters, it's the end. So I'm just saying.
Apparently, I need to take a rescue class and actually get good at this if you're counting on me. I don't know.
Yeah, I think you're the real thing.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Democrats.
I think there's a hint of desperation. I really do.
I am desperate. Yes.
Democrats are invoking a rare Senate rule to force the release of the Jeffrey Epstein files. I don't think it's going to work. Minority Leader Chuck Schumer sent a letter to Attorney General Pam Bondi requesting the Justice Department hand over the full and complete Epstein files. A century-old law says the executive branch must turn over requested documents when requested by at least 5 members of the Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs Committee. Schumer says they expect the Trump administration to provide those files by August 15th. You think they're going to do it? I don't think so.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is right. We all know the performative game. Right.
The Supreme Court says it will discuss Jeffrey Epstein associate Ghislaine Maxwell's appeal of her 2021 federal sex trafficking conviction. Maxwell's lawyer said on Monday that a non-prosecution agreement made with federal prosecutors in Florida should apply to the New York case as well. Maxwell was convicted on charges that she recruited and groomed teenage girls who would be sexually assaulted by Epstein. The judges will discuss the matter in September and then post a decision on whether they will take this case or not. Harvard University has turned over the records of thousands of employees to the Trump administration. A Tuesday email from Harvard's Department of Human Resources says the Ivy League school is providing the employee data as the Department of Homeland Security conducts a review of its operations. Harvard has been targeted by the Trump administration over allegations that it allowed anti-Semitism to go unchecked on campus. And so now they hand over employee records.
I mean, this is, again, just one more. I mean, this is like going chapter by chapter through Timothy Snyder's On Tyranny. I mean, it's just incredible, the pre-surrender and the power that Donald Trump truly wields over these academic institutions. So let's just review. It's the academic institutions. It's the legal institutions. You've seen him go after many of these law firms, and now they've capitulated as well, right? He's had all of these firms pledge tens of millions of dollars. I mean, it might even be over $100 million in pro bono work. That means work they'll just do for free for him to represent him in various cases and his interests. And then you have the extension into the media. I mean, the media completely cowed. The Colbert cancellation, the way that the Paramount merger was on the table, and so they settled on the CBS deal. ABC tapped out by writing that check. So, so let's just see it. It's media, it's law, it's academics, it's the major academic institutions. This is the checklist of a tyrant, of a despot, of authoritarianism.
President Trump says the August 1st tariff deadline is firm. In a post on Truth Social, because that's where official things happen, Trump said the deadline will not be extended and it will be a big day for the United States. Comes as Trump said he's placing a penalty on India as well as a 25% tariff and accused them of buying military gear and energy from Russia. And there's the Truth Social post. The August 1st deadline is the August 1st deadline, he writes. It stands strong and will not be extended. A big day for America.
No.
Texas Republicans have released a proposed redistricting map. Some of the biggest changes are in South Texas, where the GOP has been gaining ground. Congressman Henry Cuellar's district would no longer include San Antonio, which has been a solid Democratic voting bloc. New York Governor Kathy Hochul calling for a nationwide ban on assault weapons after Monday's mass shooting at a Manhattan office building. Authorities say Shane Tamura sprayed the lobby with gunfire, then unleashed more rounds on the 33rd floor with an assault rifle, killing 4 people. Hochul says assault rifles are banned in New York, but that won't stop out-of-state residents like Tamura from driving in to do harm. She said Congress must summon the courage to stand up to the gun lobby and finally pass a national assault weapons ban. A top advisor to former President Biden is telling House members President Biden was fully capable of exercising his presidential duties. The GOP-led committee looking into Biden's alleged cognitive decline and possible misuse of the president's auto pen are interviewing former Biden counselor Stephen Ricchetti. In an introductory statement obtained by The Hill, Ricchetti told members there was no conspiracy to hide the president's mental condition from the American people. Former Biden senior advisor Mike Donnellan set to be interviewed tomorrow. Los Angeles County closer to barring law enforcement officers from covering their faces while on duty. Tuesday, the LA County Board of Supervisors asked its attorneys to draft an ordinance. It would ban law enforcement officers from concealing or disguising their identities while on duty. It comes after recent federal immigration raids in the county, often carried out by masked ICE and Border Patrol agents. Supervisors say this proposed ordinance would apply to all law enforcement agencies operating in unincorporated areas of Los Angeles County.
I'd love to see it. I'd love to see it. There's no reason. Look, cops don't wear masks, right? Sheriffs don't wear masks. They just don't. So, I mean, there's no reason for you to have a mask on.
No,
it really isn't. So.
But there's the question there, though, whether Los Angeles County leaders can pass a law that would affect federal law enforcement officials.
I get it. I get it. And the answer is, I'm sure that the feds are going to come in heavy-handedly and prevent it. But it's, I mean, we have already seen the way the feds come in and just run roughshod over whatever local and state ordinances are in place. I mean, we saw it with the National Guard and we saw it with the Marines.
Well, this is fun. Several Caltrans employees in Monterey could be out of a job because of an X-rated retirement party. 10 employees are being investigated in connection with this party held at the Monterey Caltrans yard. So it was held at work and allegedly involved.
Go ahead. What this is an adult party held at the Caltrans.
This is 10 employees being investigated in connection with this party held at the Monterey Caltrans yard and allegedly involving alcohol and employees throwing money onto a hired stripper.
Wow.
The
Morning.
party was said to have taken place while all of these employees were on duty. 10 of the 12 people at the party received termination notices and they're fighting to keep their jobs. The other 2 were suspended. Quite a retirement party.
Wow.
We have processes and protocols and standards.
Yeah, there's usually just the gold watch, maybe, right?
You lose the whole department in one fell swoop.
Wow.
That's quite a send-off. Lehigh, Utah.
It's fantastic.
I'll bet it was pretty fun. Yeah, who's getting retired? Who's retiring next week?
Who's retiring on the Mark Thompson show? Let's
Thompson,
go.
party of 4.
Yeah, that's right. Please hold my table.
Strippers and booze at Caltrans. Lehigh, Utah is being ranked as the safest suburb.
I'd be willing to bet my lunch that there's alcohol involved.
That was for Tom. He's right. Tom Dusenberry is right. That was definitely alcohol involved.
Lehigh. Ooh, that's a picture of Lehigh. That's beautiful, Tony. Look at the mountains, the snow-capped hills.
Scary.
Thanks, Tony. Lovely downtown, little safe area. Lehigh, Utah, being ranked as the safest suburb in the United States in which to live. A new study from Smart Asset examined factors like violent crime rates, property crime rates, excessive drinking across 360 different suburbs in the nation to compile this listing. The Lehigh, Utah area comes in number 1. And Bethesda, Maryland, Great Falls, Virginia, and Rockville, Maryland, all 3 suburbs around Washington, D.C., followed close behind Lehigh. Finishing last in the rankings, sadly, Lumberton, North Carolina. It fell due to its extremely high number of traffic deaths and high amount of violent crime. So maybe steer clear of Lumberton.
It's interesting that a couple of those places you mentioned sort of are these kind of smaller towns or whatever, smaller, but a couple of them that you mentioned, Rockville, which is where I worked as an aspiring broadcaster at a radio station there, and Bethesda, Maryland. Both of them suburbs of Washington. They're very populous areas, like the big area. I mean, Bethesda now is like Dubai. There are all these high rises, et cetera. So it's interesting that people feel safe there. I mean, maybe that's a reflection of law enforcement or
they say they looked at the numbers, the property crime numbers, the violent crime numbers, and these are the suburbs that are the safest.
I love it. I'm really loving it.
So Keanu Reeves might get his stolen watches back. The expensive timepieces stolen from his Los Angeles home nearly 2 years ago, they were reportedly recovered in law enforcement raids in Chile and then handed back to the FBI. The Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem was in the Chilean capital of Santiago discussing, among other issues, burglary crews from that region targeting the United States. So Keanu's a nice guy. He deserves his watches back, right?
I have a couple of fake Rolexes, don't I, Courtney? I got them in Vietnam, I think.
Yes, we got them in Vietnam.
Yeah.
Fancy. Nice.
Yeah. So
well, here's the thing about the fake Rolexes, everybody, before everybody gets too excited. They look just like and are heavy just like the real Rolexes.
Wow.
But I have 2 notes on the fake stuff.
Do you wear
One
them
is
around?
almost immediately it started losing time. Like it wasn't, isn't that right, honey? It became kind of a fun thing. We were watching the time just kind of drift on the fake Rolex. And the second thing about the fake Rolex is that within about 6 weeks, certainly within 2 months, things like those little dots that you see there on the screen that represent the 1, 2, 3, 4, the hours and minutes, they begin to fall off.
Yes.
And they collect there at the bottom of the, it's sort of.
So the third complaint is that they're fake.
So I would.
Worth what you paid for it, which is probably not much, right?
Yeah, we paid $50 or $75 a piece.
We would go back to. Where were we?
We went back to Vietnam.
Yeah, we were in Saigon, and we would just go back to find this person
to the
that was
same
selling
place.
these watches.
I said,
They
I bought a
were really
Rolex
good.
here last year. I really did. We went back to Vietnam, and I said it fell apart. She said, I don't know what you're talking about.
And they said, thank you, sir. I don't know who you are. Yeah,
the customer service, the warranty really didn't.
Yeah, the warranty really was not.
Didn't cover us.
I'm kind of a big deal.
Lastly, and I don't know if you two have seen this yet, Happy Gilmore 2 is setting records on Netflix. The sequel to Adam Sandler's 1996 classic golf comedy generated more than 46 million views over its first 3 days, with views defined as total hours watched divided by total runtime. That figure was the biggest U.S. opening weekend ever for a Netflix film. The original film also, you call Happy Gilmore a film? It's a movie. The original movie also garnered more interest, ranking at number 3 on the global top 10 list on the streaming app. So people that caught 2 thought, oh, I got to go back now and watch 1, right? So it was a big Happy Gilmore weekend.
What did Snyder talk about it? The Culture Blaster talk about it? Happy Gilmore too?
Did he? I don't know. I don't think so.
Did he? Tony wasn't here.
No,
I don't know.
I don't
remember
so.
it. Yeah, don't remember him mentioning it.
I think his word was, I'm going to ignore this and pretend it's not happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He likes to do that occasionally.
That sounds promising.
Yeah, he didn't want to. But I will say my family, been having a lot of family time lately. My whole family watched this movie together, and parts of it were really stupid, and there were a lot of laughs in other parts. So yeah.
That's good.
A lot of cameos, a lot of famous people in this movie.
Right. I think it's
Yeah.
become sort of, it's this campy kind of film that,
Yep.
exactly.
This report is
by the way,
sponsored
Kamala Harris,
by-
I'm seeing, making the announcement that she will not run for California governor. Yeah.
Yeah,
this
that is true.
Did you have it at the top of your news? I thought you.
I did not have it.
Yeah,
It happened while I was talking, but it is.
I know. That's what I
front
thought.
and
I'm thinking,
center
geez,
on
I hope
CNN.
I'm not.
Yeah.
I just wanted to point it out because.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for that.
Yeah. She's
So who
saying
will-
that
who will
she's
be?
going to run for president again. That's what
No.
she's saying.
What?
No,
That's not what she's saying.
Yeah, in like 2040.
Right.
Yeah, but no, she's not running for governor of California, which means what? We'll get possibly Katie Porter in the mix.
Maybe. I mean, I
Oh.
think I'd love to see Katie Porter in the mix, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Who else is running? Isn't it Bonta? Rob Bonta?
Sure.
Possibly?
It'll be Bonta, Villaraigosa.
Mhm.
Yeah, I don't have the list on the top of my head, but
Yeah.
those come to mind. I mean, it's going to be crowded, very crowded.
Mhm.
Yeah.
This report sponsored by CoachellaValleyCoffee.com. Just because you took some time off doesn't mean we weren't still over here drinking the Lion's Mane, the Clarity blend. My husband is loving it. Loving it.
The Clarity blend.
So good. I can see that you're both clear-headed, more clear-headed already.
Yes,
Really?
I needed more of this than I drank for the beginning of the. But I'll tell you that
You're making more sense. I can tell your thinking is a
every
little
sip.
bit more logical.
more clarity.
Yeah.
Do go to CoachellaValley.com, CoachellaValleyCoffee.com. They are terrific purveyors of the best coffee and tea on earth. The latest is that Clarity blend that we are such fans of, and also apparently 2 new refreshing teas I see there in the splash page that Tony has so wonderfully put up. So CoachellaValleyCoffee.com, go to their website, knock around their tasting notes and tasting profiles on everything there, tea, coffee, and when you check out, use the code MARKT and you'll get 10% off. 10% off with Mark T.
So what are the new tea flavors? What do we have here? Is it it's the hibiscus orange sun tea, which is truly amazing. And I can't see the other one new. Oh, I got to go to the website, CoachellaValleyCoffee.com. Right. It's Mark Tea, turmeric chai. Nice.
Right.
I have to try that one. The code is Mark T, no spaces, Mark T, and you get your 10% off from CoachellaValleyCoffee.com.
Right on.
There's never been anything like
this. That's right. That's really
Yeah.
hasn't.
I'm Kim McAllister. This is the Mark Thompson Show.
Feel it in your soul. The Mark Thompson Show.
Well, I intended to have Courtney make a little appearance. Are you okay to make an appearance?
Yeah, and just
We've had a very rough
I
time
have
here.
demands, Mark, of my time.
Yeah,
so.
we've also got our sweet creature, our cat, favorite cat is horribly
It's
bad
hard
shape.
to talk about. But look what we got. How
look at that.
cool is this? I'm so excited about this design.
This is
I'm
a
very
perfect.
excited.
It's kind of a throwback.
Yeah.
Simple design.
It's
Make
really
love, not
cool.
fascism. Very
Yeah,
good.
it comes in light colors because of the color of the image. And it's great. It's printed. It's nice, soft cotton.
Yeah, it is. It's
Yeah,
nice. It's
really
a
nice.
great T-shirt.
Yeah.
And that's their Make
It's
Love, Not Fascism.
Fascism.
And it's at getmarkmerch.com.
Yes.
We're excited because it's part of the specialty group of shirts
Yes.
that kind of have
it's
that.
really cool.
Yeah.
I'm
And I
excited
think
to wear this.
you'll be very happy with it.
Yeah, yeah.
And also, what just arrived today, I don't know if you, I don't know if you'll be able to see this, but thank you, Tony. Those are all the specialty T-shirts. But what just arrived today is this is the
It's the apron.
it's the apron for the
Yeah.
kitchen or
Yeah.
for the barbecue.
It's when Mark cosplays that he goes into the kitchen.
Yeah. Well, I do go in.
Get cooking.
But
It's really nice because it's embroidered.
Yes, this is
It's
not just
really,
stamped
really
on.
nice.
We don't do any
And
stamping.
it's
We
a
do everything
really
embroidered.
thick, eco-friendly cotton. So it's really nice. Yeah.
Does
so now
Mark-
you can drink wine, drink coffee, and make food, and always think about the Mark Thompson show.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And show
Does
your
Mark
love.
barbecue? Does he get out there and grill? No.
We
No,
haven't, but
no,
we don't
He-
do. Courtney doesn't like people over at the house, so we don't we don't have barbecues the way I used to. I don't have.
You can
the-
grill up vegetables. I just remembered there's no
Yeah.
meat on the grill, but
Oh,
you can
no,
grill
absolutely.
up
You
the,
can
like,
have
the
great
veggie
barbecue. We've had-
burgers and yeah.
Yeah, we've had
We've
great
had
vegan barbecues. We
barbecues.
have had them.
Yeah,
It's been a
we
while.
have had barbecues. We don't. We need to.
Yeah, we need to do something more.
Yeah.
We've been,
but
we've been
usually
remiss.
it's someone else doing it. Right, Mark?
Oh,
right,
yeah,
yeah.
the cooking, the
Yeah, the
barbecuing
actual
itself.
cooking.
Yes, I get an actual barbecue expert in
Yeah.
to do it, as you might imagine.
Yeah. Mark's a really good host.
yeah.
So.
But I'm not. Yeah,
But that
I'm
doesn't mean
busy
you can wear
hosting.
the apron.
Yeah. Ending fascism, one piece of merch at a time. Thank you.
There you go.
There you go. That's our next shirt.
I love that. That is really funny. That would be a funny shirt. We're always trying to come up with stuff. So,
Yeah, send us anything.
CC
feedback,
Ryder
ideas.
says, how about dog sweaters, Mark's Mutts for the wintertime?
Oh, that's cute.
That's really cute,
That's
CC Ryder.
cute, yeah.
Very, very good.
Yep.
Yeah. Anyway, getmarkmerch.com. And if you have any thoughts, if you would like to see some dreamy piece of merch done,
Yeah,
we're always
let us
open.
know.
So it's the Mark Thompson Show at gmail.com. Mark, what about merch for cats? Maybe cat bowl or something. I don't like to put cats in
Sweaters,
aprons,
clothes. Yeah, because they're not. They don't
Only little
respond well. Their fur is all part of their sensory setup, and so it f's with that. I think, but I don't know.
So that's a no to the knitted Mark Thompson hat beanie, cat beanie.
The cat beanie. I don't know. Maybe it's good for photo ops, I suppose. But apart from that, my beanie is so in vogue. Tony, did you get the picture before I get to Belinda of? I sent it to you. I thought maybe I sent it to Albert. God, I thought it was going to be Albert today, so I may have sent it. It's of Richard Delamater. Richard Delamater, cat beds, maybe, says CBD, possibly. Yeah. No, is the answer, Tony?
Not that I know of.
No.
Okay.
And if I did, it got lost in other stuff.
Richard,
So I'll just say I lost it. How
got
about that?
I got it, and I sent it to the wrong producer because I didn't realize Tony would be producing today. So sorry.
Wow, it sounds like we have just this big staff full of all kinds of people. Look at the wrong producer. We have more than one.
Yeah, well, we do. You'd think it would be easy to keep track, but apparently I can't do it. So anyway, that's it for Mark. So thank you, Courtney, who is.
Courtney, thank you for for doing all this great merch. This is super cool.
She works really hard, and she, truly. She's amazing. I mean, she's a top executive type, and for her to she loves doing this though, designing the shirts and all the rest. So you can see the different colors. Knock around there, getmarkmerch.com. You'll see some wild stuff, like, some really nice stuff. Felines Against Fascism, scratching post for kitties.
There you go.
That's brilliant, CC. Show me how we can produce it, where we can order it, and white label it, and we'll do it. Getmarkmerch.com. Getmarkmerch.com is where you get all of our stuff. So,
The Mark Thompson Show.
John Watson says Albert didn't set up the. Oh, you had it. Say it again. Sorry about that. John Watson says Albert didn't set up the I'm on vacation reply. No, he did not. He did not. Albert's not great at setting things up. But, it comes to, I need to get Belinda some of this coffee. Belinda's our eco-journalist, and these are dark times in the eco-journalism world, I think. So a little coffee lift would be good. Put that on my to-do list, and I will get on it. Without any further delay, although delaying is a cornerstone of this show, it's time to do something that we do on Wednesdays. We do it once a week. No other show does this because people just, frankly, don't have an ongoing connection the way I think we should to the environment, to the planet, and to the possibilities, the wondrous possibilities that can be unlocked, and also the real dangers and darkness of not being careful enough and protective enough of the environment. We have these conversations with Belinda Waymouth on Wednesdays in a segment we call It's the Planet, Stupid.
The planet Earth.
Some call me nature.
I am very passionate about the planet.
Earth. A living, breathing planet capable of sustaining whatever life forms we see fit to deposit on it.
Spock, judging by the pollution content of the atmosphere, I believe we have arrived.
It's the planet Stupid. No. It's the planet Stupid.
Our guide for It's the Planet Stupid is Belinda Waymouth. And Tony, if you'll look at your, because it's not Albert today, a lot of what she sent went to Albert and not to you.
I resent all of it to Tony.
Oh, you did? Okay, very well done.
Yeah.
I'm glad somebody
pictures,
has their act
everything.
together here. Okay.
And
cool.
I'm a tea drinker, Mark. I'm a tea drinker, not coffee. Tea makes me happy.
What?
Okay, well then we'll send you the tea. The tea off their website's amazing. The Coachella Valley Coffee website has all of these magnificent teas. That's what Kim drinks, and that's what we drink in our house too. They've got tremendous teas. So you have them on the way soon.
Yeah, and I love that T-shirt. Make love, not.
The T-shirts, we've got some really great ones.
Fantastic.
Yeah. Thank you.
Super cool.
Belinda Waymouth, our eco-journalist, here for It's the Planet, Stupid. Tell me the latest. Tell me something good.
I'm going to tell you a couple of good things. These are really cool. So one of them is a new energy source. We'll get to that. White natural hydrogen as opposed to that blue-green stuff. But the first one is about a steel town in West Virginia, a town that was built on the Ohio River, and it was a steel-making town, Weirton, and it was named after the guy who founded it, Ernest T. Weir, so Weirton. And their last steelworks closed down in February of 2024, laid off 900 workers, promised that they would be back with a transformer manufacturing plant, and then a few months later had to say to all these workers who'd lost their jobs, hey, we're really sorry, we've gone bankrupt. This is Cleveland Cliffs, the company. We can't come back and help you. But what had happened in 2017 is a company called Form Energy. They make storage batteries. They're called iron air batteries. I could describe how they work, but I think it's just more interesting to really talk about this from a human point of view. So they got $150 million from the Biden administration, but really importantly, they got $290 million from West Virginia. And they came in and they've created this plant. And the wild thing is it's in, where where the steel factory used to be. And so they are employing former steel workers to make these storage batteries. And rather than walk into a steel mill, where you are walking on these wobbly catwalks above 900-degree ovens with molten steel in them, you've got cranes with 300,000 pounds of steel coils going above your head. They're now working in this pristine, clean space. There are indoor gardens. It's quite different. The town is not as polluted as it used to be. They say when you walk down the main street of Weirtown in its heyday in the 60s, when steel production was really, a go, you would get grit on your teeth. You had to, sweep your porch because there would be steel and iron, like debris on your porch. So they've got these jobs. And the thing that's really interesting is initially it was like, this is green tech, this is green tech. But the company is really adamant, we are not a green tech company. And how they market their batteries, they call them, I love this, they're vehicles for stabilizing the electric grid. So what they do is they're like, we store the energy, whether it comes from wind or solar or fossil fuel generation. We're for everyone. We're not a green company. But of course, you've got happy former steel workers, and then you've got the naysayers. You've got people who are like, no, steel's going to come back, and this is who we are, and we're conservatives, and we don't like that Form Energies, talks about diversity and inclusion and being, a humanitarian on their website. They don't, no one's saying the word woke. And then there are people who believe that steel is going to come back. And the pragmatists in the town are like, hey, we went from 30,000 people to 18,000. Steel production is now happening in China, Japan, everywhere but here. It would cost $1 billion to bring it back. We've got this new company. It's hope. I mean, they say when you walk into this factory, you feel hope. And yes, in the parking lot, there are electric vehicles being charged in big trucks, and it's a real mixture. So it's that sort of the thing that I've talked about a lot on the show. It to me really is the intersection of the old way and the new, and the sort of the tension that brings, because this is a very conservative red town. 70% of people voted for Trump. They don't want to be associated with green energy, but other people are like, this is the future. And it's built right in what was the steel works, it's built right there. So it's just sort of, the world is changing, and we talk about this often, change is hard. And you're seeing it in this very conservative town. But even the mayor worked in the steelworks for 48 years, but he's like, bring it on. We need Form Energy. Thank goodness they're here.
Oh, my God, are you kidding? It's breathing life into a community that was, staggering economically. And we have the pictures. Tony's, brought them up during a conversation. For those who are just listening, you see the transformation of this town and of this industry, from steel to, as you suggested, this incredibly pristine environment in which they're producing these, what do they call them? Grid protectors or whatever.
Well, they call them vehicles. It's great. Vehicles for stabilizing the electrical grid. That's what they call their batteries.
And this could be, this could be a high-tech, look at it. It could be a tech startup from the looks of it. It's remarkable how,
the thing about these batteries, which is wild, so iron, in the discharge, they call it, when it's creating its energy, it uses oxygen from the atmosphere, and it discharges energy and it creates rust. And in the recharge, the rust turns back into iron, so the whole process can start again. So it's quite, it's quite sort of basic in what it does. It's just chemistry. This is just chemistry, but it's, this is what we need. We need these special batteries, all the ones that we talk about on the show, when you have water and you move it uphill when you've got all the solar and wind being generated. And then at night when there's no solar and wind, the water goes down, to the lower level, releases all this, electricity as it goes through the turbines. I mean, that's really, low tech, high impact, my favorite. And this kind of is too. But yeah, it's and it's interesting that the company is really adamant, even though they came in, they got their money from Biden on the, the shift to renewables and the IRA. But this is the thing, like there are people in the town who are like, anything that is touched by Biden, no, they don't want it. But this is saving you. This is saving your town and stopping people, the workers, from having to leave to go to other places for work. And then it's also bringing in, highly educated technical people from all over the world. They've got people coming in from Brazil and India. So you're really reinvigorating this town. And it is, I get it. It's hard to go from the status quo to something new. But man, this is your lucky break, right?
Well, Kurt says it as a throwback. I wish I was a fly on the wall when the first automobile rolled off the assembly line and horse-drawn carriage industry members revolted. You know, it's true. I mean, new technologies come oftentimes begrudgingly. You know.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
and this electric grid is stressed in ways that are only going to get not only substantially worse, but I would suggest like a standard deviation worse. They're going to become so horribly stressed as a result of AI that the kind of stressors that we've seen historically on the electric grid, don't you think, Belinda, are going to be quaint compared to the kind of stressors that we're going to see in the years ahead, in the immediate years ahead?
Yeah. What's ahead, I think, is just going to be a whole new world. The amount of energy that AI, Bitcoin, all these things use, it's going to sort of blow other industries out of the water. And
B.A. Ware says this, not to interrupt, but I saw the headline that AI will soon use more power in Montana than the humans there. That can't be a good sign. I mean, again, that's what we're talking about. All of those tech developments, as you say, crypto, AI, et cetera, that require tremendous energy and water.
Yeah, absolutely. And the second thing I wanted to talk about is sort of along these lines, the way that we have been doing business and the way that we are going to need to be doing business, and that we need different forms of energy, and we need energy that's really powerful. And we also need to decarbonize our energy sources. So the new gold rush. So in the 1800s, you had this guy called Edwin Drake. He was an entrepreneur, and he was sure that he was going to find oil in Pennsylvania, under the ground. And other people are like, "What are you talking about, Edwin? That's ridiculous." And in 1859, he discovered it, and the modern age and oil and the world as we know it was created. So what we have right now is we have a new generation of wildcatters. You'll be interested to know that Bill Gates is backing one of these groups. And what they're looking for is this stuff. It's pure, natural. It's called white hydrogen. So hydrogen is the most prevalent element that we have. We know it. So hydrogen is a tiny little H, on its own, one atom. It's the lightest, the most prevalent, the simplest that we have. We know it as the molecule that it forms when two H's join together, H2, so it's a gas. And the thing about hydrogen is it has an incredible amount of energy in it, 3 times what oil does. So it's really important. And the thing about this white hydrogen is that it occurs naturally. It's created when there's tectonic movement between plates. It's underneath them. They believe it's in mountain ranges. And it's going to be cheaper, way cheaper than blue or green hydrogen to, because you just have to drill it. It comes out of the ground. It's kind of ready to go. Whereas green and blue hydrogen are incredibly energy intensive. And also there's a lot of carbon. Now you see here, so you've got gray hydrogen coming from natural gas, and it's the byproduct is a carbon dioxide, which is a greenhouse gas. So it's super polluting. But hydrogen is really important because we use it in refining. We use it in the chemical industry. It's used to make ammonia for fertilizers. We need hydrogen. And blue and green hydrogen. So blue hydrogen, you take the natural gas and you split it into CO2. So natural gas is CH4. That's what methane is. 1 carbon, 4 hydrogens. And you split it apart and you get CO2 and you get hydrogen. But CO2 is, greenhouse gas. So then we go to green hydrogen, where to make it really green, you have to use renewable electricity to do it. And you're just splitting water into hydrogen and oxygen. But it takes so much energy. And the thing about this white hydrogen, and the reason why people are excited about it, and you've got these 60 different, companies around the world, we're the ones who are going to, to find it, at it, is because it's going to be way cheaper to produce. But here's the thing about it. So the US Geological Survey has estimated that below the Earth's mantle, below, the crust of the Earth, we've got between 1 and 10 trillion tons of it. Most realistically, it'd be 5.6 trillion tons. That's a lot. Some of it's going to be too deep to get, some of it's going to be offshore, some of it, the deposits will be too small. So right now it's hugely speculative, but you've got guys who worked in the oil industry. They're now wildcatters looking for white hydrogen. So you've got, Chevron, BP, you've got Brazil's, what's the company from Brazil called? Their Petrobras. They're out looking for it. You've got Bill Gates, his energy breakthrough is putting money behind this French company called Mantle 8. So it's super high tech. Mantle 8 are using this 4D technology. So they use geology, geophysics, geochemistry, and they're sort of mapping the entire world, basically the mountain ranges. So everywhere from the Alps to the Himalayas, because that's where they believe they're going to find it. And this French company, Mantle 8, they are drilling for it in the Pyrenees. They believe by 2030 they'll have their first kilogram. It will be way, way cheaper than the hydrogen that we're getting. Right now in the world, I have to tell this story because this is really interesting about white hydrogen. So the only place where it's producing energy right now is this tiny little village in western Mali. And what happened was there was a borehole, and a worker was leaning over the borehole with a lit cigarette, and there was an explosion. And they discovered that they had this pure hydrogen just bubbling out of this borehole. So now that village all their electricity is being generated by this white hydrogen. And what these, oil guys want to do in the rest of the world, they've been doing exploratory drilling in the US and Australia, is they want to find it because they believe white hydrogen, there's enough of it to meet our hydrogen needs for the next 200 years. And there is way more of it than what we have of proven natural gas deposits, in the world. And that it would be, one of the levers that we would use to make this transition to renewables. I think you're getting, it's hugely speculative. You've got to find it. A lot of it's mixed with methane, so you've got to separate it from that.
So when you add, but because of those things that you just mentioned, when you add those costs into the equation, which involves this energy, which is much cheaper, much less expensive than traditional energies, does it still pencil out as more cost effective?
Yeah, it's still 5 times cheaper than this blue or green hydrogen that we're making right now, which is only producing 1% of the hydrogen that the Earth, that the planet needs. So
you said 2030. Is that the timeline that we're on? You mentioned that one European company is,
Yeah, this is for Mantle 8, and this is the other thing about it. It's sort of like the fission nuclear power. It'll take a decade for this to come online, but it's that thing. Like I just said, that we're going to need all the levers to make this transition. If we've got to find the energy for AI and for Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, all these technologies that are coming online, we're going to need clean energy sources, and we're going to need as much energy as possible. And this is
you're saying that, and let me just, you're implying anyway that in that decade or whatever that we actually get to white hydrogen, that it will kick the door open. It's like the fission reaction, like in other words, nuclear power. I mean, once it comes, it's going to come big.
Well, what they really see is it'll be like Edwin Drake. It'll be like when he discovered oil in Pennsylvania in 1859. It will be a moment like that. Like they're calling.
It'll be like a white hydrogen gold rush almost.
Yeah. They're calling it, white gold, and they're calling them wildcatters, the guys who are out there looking for it. And the systems that they're using, they're very technologically advanced. And you can see why Bill Gates is into it, because he loves technologically, complicated. That's why he's into the fission. Let's do what the sun does, to create nuclear power. Let's make it as difficult as possible for ourselves. Not that, they're right, because what the sun is doing is, intense and impressive and better than fusion, which is, way more polluting and, all this nuclear waste that we have in the world that we're trying to deal with. So yes, very speculative. Yes, the timeline is, not, as fast as we need. But also, I think at this point, because it is in such a nascent stage, we don't know how big it's going to be. So imagine if it is as big as oil. Imagine if it does, for our energy needs what oil does, and we are sort of catapulted into this, new, and obviously, I say that, Mark, like, it's going to be great. I mean, it's going to have to be done, very, with real care, because the other thing about this hydrogen, and I'm pretty sure I didn't mention this already, but this naturally occurring little hydrogen molecule that's under the ground is used as a food source for microbes. And so we don't want to upset, the chemistry and the ecology of, our subterranean world. And we know, because microbes have been getting so much press in the last, 5-10 years, microbes are super important. They're really important in us, what they do for human beings. They're all over us, inside on our skins. We couldn't live without microbes. And the microbial action that happens on the ocean floor and subterraneously, those things are important. So, with all these things, we have to proceed with caution. But one of the things I love is that, in spite of what's happening, in this very sort of, this sort of the administration that we have right now that, wants to drill, baby, drill and, keep us on oil. Actually, what oil companies are doing is getting out there and looking for the new alternatives to oil. So these oil executives are like, okay, I'm done with oil. I'm on to white hydrogen.
Sure. That's
it's
very
happening
true.
in spite of, the administration.
Yeah.
That's exciting to me.
He's got a kind of a 1955 worldview. Donald Trump does. But hey, I wouldn't want to end up. I'm so grateful for some good news. Thank you for that. 2 really great pieces of news. I do want to, because I know you are well aware of this, and I do want to just mention that this move on the part of Lee Zeldin at the EPA to overturn a key EPA finding about greenhouse gas emissions and about pollutants, this will completely make illegal any kind of legislative or even general policy matters that pass at a municipal level, even that are associated with curbing greenhouse gases and getting onto alternative energies and making that a priority in any way. The EPA will no longer recognize in this finding the deleterious effects of greenhouse gases. Yeah, it's super dumb and, kind of unbelievable that this is happening. I mean, it's so Project 2025, it's ridiculous. But here's the thing. So I was listening this morning, and what that, one lawyer was saying is, the 300-page brief they've got on dismantling this. He said it's sort of ridiculous. It's not, and it's like the things that Trump did in his first term. It's just thrown together. It's like they're, throwing everything against the wall, hoping that something will stick, trying to go after this important piece of regulatory, protection that was created for us in 2009. It's going to be a huge legal battle, and it's going to take up a lot of time. And I always feel like would think, so the problem is while that is happening, car companies, which are making the shift to renewables, electric and hybrid vehicles anyway, they'll sell as many gas-powered cars as they possibly can, while this is happening. So that's bad. But it will be held up in the courts, and it will go on. And obviously we have a Supreme Court that is, very inclined towards President Trump. That's a great, but that's thank you for pointing out the legal, because in many of the articles I've read, they note that it's going to take years of legal wrangling. But ultimately, if they were to prevail in court, if this Trump administration is to prevail in court, the ability of any president or any administration to curb fossil fuel emissions is completely undermined. I mean, there's just no way to do it. Even if you had a Republican president who believed in renewables, it would be hard for them, to reverse it. I mean, it would be the biggest piece of deregulation that, ever happened in the United States if it passes. And it just stands in the way of basic science. It's just crazy. But again, you can put the HHS and RFK Jr. in that same category and all the rest. Scientists have no place in this administration, and as a result, they're just they're completely doctrine driven. But I don't want to drag you into the politics necessarily. I just wanted to note the EPA because it was such a big deal, and I know you wanted to mention it, but we have limited time. But I did want to you kind of chose those two uplifting stories. I also want to give you something else uplifting. Love, love, love Belinda's glasses, says Johan G. Or Johanna, I think that is.
Yeah, these are good. They don't make them anymore, unfortunately, but I have a couple of pairs. I like these. They've got a hilarious name, the company. I kid you not, they're called Spiffy Society. The biggest piece. Yeah.
But you're saying they don't make those anymore?
I don't think so. And if you looked up their website, it was a pretty terrible website. They only made these glasses, but they made them in tons of different colors. They were really cool. I've got a blue pair that are dark on the outside and pale blue on the inside. They're great. And I've got a lot of compliments on them. And then I have to say, I'm really sorry, unless you can find an old optician who's still got a couple in his case, Anyway.
It's no way.
eBay, maybe on eBay you can find them.
All right. Well, you and your glasses rocked it beautifully today. Thank you. Belinda Waymouth, appreciate you. And that is It's the Planet Stupid for today.
More It's the Planet Stupid. No. It's the Planet Stupid.
Next time, only on The Mark Thompson Show.
Mm-hmm.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Can't believe it's we're done.
It's a shocker.
It is a shocker. Rough day. Glad everybody pulled it together. Thank you, Kim.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Tony. And what do we have outstanding? Jim Slayton, one of our OGs. Badges? We ain't got no badges. We don't need no badges. I don't have to show you any stinking badges, says Jim Slayton. No, the $10 super chat related to the ICE and federales that roll through so many communities, and they wear masks. There are no badges. There are no badge numbers. There is nothing. From B.A. Ware, as I think about all these issues, the older I get, the more solace I take in thinking life isn't forever. B.A. Ware, wow. Sobering. I don't know if I'm encouraged by that.
I don't know either.
B.A. Ware says I take solace in that. Do you take solace? I think we live in denial on some level, don't we? This is kind of more of a philosophical conversation for another time, although I love philosophical conversations. But we sort of do live in denial, that the end is going to come. And that's why I think it's so painful when it does,
Mm-hmm.
What do you, Tony is our resident philosopher. What do you think, Tony?
John Lee Hooker, I think, says it best. You come in this world with nothing, and all you take with you is a blue suit.
That's great.
Thanks, Tony.
Yeah, different view, but the same, right? And Beneloco says, at this rate, 2030 is not in our future in relation to the target date for that white hydrogen and the development there. No. Inlay says, China is overtaking us every time Trump says drill, baby, drill, and he pulls government money from solar, hydro, wind, and battery, saying it's better to poison us because oil is a small hole in the ground. It hurts the USA. No, of course, that is very, very true. No way, Mark. You were in Rockville? What years? I worked there in 92, 93, says B.A. Ware. Well, it was way before 92, 93. Yeah, the radio station where I worked. I've got some great stories about that radio station for another time. And that was just beginning my career, and it was a really big job, for me in Washington, D.C. And at Rockville, which is right outside of Washington, D.C., the signal of the radio station went into Washington. So I got that was a very big job for me. I'm just trying to think of what story to tell. I've got so many stories from that station. It was really crazy. I'll just tell you one story. So that station was a rock station, okay, like a top 40 station, like Z100 or Kiss FM or, a top 40 station. I don't know what's the one in the Bay Area, the big rock station, Kim, the big pop station, the big like pop music station, hit music station.
So we've got Alice, we've got the hard rock station, we've got all kinds. I don't know.
But yeah, anyway, the main, the big one that plays all the hits. That's what we did.
Mm-hmm.
But the owner was this old man. Think like Sumner Redstone old, like really old, ancient guy, and he was super religious. Okay. So in the middle of morning drive, and you're there, you're pumping all of these songs. I don't know what they are at the time, the Bee Gees and Pablo Cruz or whatever the songs were back then. We had to stop the show down 15 minutes a morning so that he could do his message of hope, which was a religiously underpinned thing. And here's even the worst part. So you're going from hit music to message of hope at 8:30 in the morning, like the heart of morning drive. It came on a reel-to-reel tape. Remember the reel-to-reel tapes, Tony? There was a reel, you had it. Now those are ancient. And the reel-to-reel tape, because of some magnetization of it or whatever, Tony could give it to you. It had this kind of muffled sound like that, and he'd sound clear for a second, and then he'd so muffled like that.
Oh,
so
no.
he's telling you about crap you don't want to hear about anyway in the morning. You're just trying to get to work. We're playing all this hit music, and then we put on the muscle. It's all about God and stuff like that, and then it sounds muffled like that. So you can't even. Thank you. That's exactly what the machine looked like,
Sure.
and it didn't matter how good the machine was playing the message of hope, because the message of hope was degraded in some way by anyway, that was what I dealt with in Rockville, Maryland. So it was a long time ago. And that's one of my stories from that wonderful station.
Better than you. My first job in radio was in Sacramento at a privately owned station. And I was working the overnight shift as I was a little baby DJ. And the owner used to bring in these hookers at night. And there I was spinning records. And
Girl,
here he
you
is
just woo.
walking in at night trying to show off his radio station to these ladies.
Wow.
Oh my God. Don't go into the back office.
We could try ignoring it, sir.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, I learned you stay out of the back office at night because you don't know what's going on back there.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
Benny Loco says, cannabis, we all get along. Exactly. All right. I have to adjourn this great meeting tomorrow. Hi, Kim. This is a Chaplain Fred message. Hi, Mark, Kim, Tony. Nothing wrong with that, Mark. We need more people like that. What was that related to? More people like what?
More people like you, Mark. That's how I chose to take that. More people like Mark Thompson.
Yeah. Hey, thank you. All right, I'll take it. Kim, who's on the show tomorrow? David Katz, the great federal prosecutor.
Katz, we
who's now
got
down
him.
to the defense side of the table. And we have much to talk about with Emil Bove and more. As I've said to you, in my view now, the front and center issue is the courts. And we'll talk about what's happening in the courts with David Katz. And tomorrow... Oh, I see this now.
I'm Shadow Stevens for the Mark Thompson Show. Bye-bye.
Mark, can't you be on time for once? Okay.
On time. Bye-bye.
We're out of time now, but I've done a 2-hour show, so I don't feel guilty in the least. Bye-bye.